All right, everyone, we are here with a very special guest. We are joined by Stephen Colletti. We're going to be talking about 20-year anniversary of Laguna Beach. We got the Traitors to talk about, One Tree Hill. We're going to talk about it all because this is our first time in person.
Yeah.
You've done the podcast over Zoom a while back, so we're super excited to have you here in studio. So thanks for joining us.
Great to be here. Appreciate you guys having me.
It's nice getting to talk to people in real life and not over Zoom all the time. You kind of forget what that was like when we have had so many amazing guests that were like, wait a second, we did talk to them. It was just on Zoom, and I've never met them.
It's better in person, isn't it?
It always
that was
is.
the thing with the podcast where Chris and I, we done the Laguna podcast, and like the one thing that was missing was like we did an episode with Lauren, and that of course was great. We were in person for that, and a lot of the other folks was like, the one thing we need to do, like we need to get everyone together and talk about this. And there's just a different energy that way. So
Exactly.
Yeah, because you're worried about like, oh, it's lagging. Oh, wait, can you repeat
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
And then you kind of lose
But
the
you guys
magic.
always brought good energy, though. I feel like when we were doing your podcast, it was always
thank
good.
you.
So that's
Thank
why
you
we're happy
so
to be here.
much. We are so excited to talk to you about everything. I mean, we loved watching you on Traitors.
Yeah.
Are you still thinking about Traitors every day, or is it kind of left the brain a little bit?
You know what? It's funny you say that because the dreams, like I was right back in it. Once the show started airing, the dreams were hitting me like I was back in the show. And I wake up and be like, damn it. I was like, why didn't I just talk to Johnny and like just like, compare notes and maybe we would have gotten there a little faster. And so you see it that way, and especially with the edit coming out and then all the stuff we didn't know was happening, all the fun that the Traitors are having. So yeah, my dreams were inundated with all sorts of thoughts of being in the show. But now it's released. We've shifted gears here. We've settled back into normal life in Orange County and well, kind of normal. We're promoting a Laguna Beach reunion. That's 20 years reunion. There's nothing normal about that. So yeah, it's thankfully that's settled in and it's moved into a nice place of like, that was a fun little side quest.
It's one of those things that, when you go into the shower and you have like fake fights. Have you guys ever done
100%.
That's what it must be like when you're leaving Traitors and you're like, oh, Johnny, I know
And
it's
you have
this
all
person.
the answers, right? Because you're undefeated in the shower.
Yeah,
You're like,
of
I got
course,
this. I'm winning.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm my own biggest fan there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No critics.
Yeah.
What was your biggest like WTF moment watching it back that you didn't realize was happening?
So this is kind of a weird little one, but when the conga line, that which I was so impressed by Rob C, not to be confused with Rob R, in the way that he called out the conga line, and it was like, and he was telling Tiffany like, hi, conga line, like that to me, seeing that moment was so great. But being in the kitchen with however many Traitors, I was usually just sitting around with them, having no idea. And Rob was in there, Rob R was with me in there. And then we pop out to the conga line and he gets on my back for like 2 seconds and he's like, screw this, which at the time was like very Rob. So I was like, okay, that's not weird. But he immediately runs back into the kitchen, opens up that picture frame and pulls out of it. So seeing that, I'm like, God damn, I had no idea that was happening right there, right under my nose. So seeing that moment and really just also some of the strategy that I was kind of working on of like, all right, be play to your strengths in the missions, be vocal there. To actually see them in the turret talking about like, oh, he's kind of good at missions. I was like, oh man, like, maybe I was okay at this game, it was fun to see that and to really see actually how much fun the Traitors are having because they actually know what's going on. They're not looking stupid.
Right. Yeah, we were definitely bummed to see you go, but you lasted a long time.
Yeah.
And right at the beginning, seeing your name, and I know you talked about this a little bit, but it was like One Tree Hill, which excited us because we were a huge fan of you on One Tree Hill. Did you get a lot of feedback from people being like, that should say Laguna Beach, not One Tree Hill?
Yeah, you know what? After everything on the show and just little moments of talking with people, I was like, I wonder what's going to be something I might get a little blowback from. And I wasn't too worried, but then all of a sudden the first episode comes out. And I'm kind of like, hey, this is like, I'm getting off easy. Like I'm helping Donna Kelsey down the stairs. They showed that. I was like,
you're all true gentlemen.
I'm like, I'm like talking about my mom. I'm like, wow, they're really like giving me the nice guy at it. Like, okay, I'll take it. And then it just says One Tree Hill. And the internet's like, why? Like, what is wrong with this guy? And I was like, my wife was showing me all these little comments on it. And I'm like, I can't believe that people are reacting this way to it. So yeah, I got some heat for that.
Yeah, it makes sense though because I feel like it is a good topic of conversation though to go with, so that people are talking about it. Even if you are getting heat, it's like, all right, well they're talking about me. We're making discussion here.
Yeah.
Going into Laguna Beach 20 years, it is really insane to think about the fact that you guys were in high school filming this show.
17-year-olds.
No,
Yeah.
This is not okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you look back on this,
now
you're
it's like there's like laws to stop this
right,
now.
like, wait, reality TV about people in high school who seemed so much older at the time,
Really?
right?
Oh man,
I don't know what it is. I think it's something with our age range of watching where I could still put on an episode. Like I'm 31 years old. I could still put on an episode of Laguna Beach and be like, they're older than me right now in this moment.
Totally
So
agree.
funny.
Like you guys just seem so mature for your age, and maybe it's where you grew up.
That is hilarious. Appreciate you saying that. I would definitely watching it back. There, I don't see maturity. I think that
maybe I'm confusing the two words with mature. Maybe it was definitely immaturity, but like.
Yeah, but so different. Maybe it speaks to the time, you know. And I think that you're saying if you're 31 now, you're growing up fully in social media and with cell phones and living a lot more through text messages. So maybe there was something about. Because we're, older millennials and we didn't quite have the phones. Like, I mean, of course we had our cell phones, but we weren't inundated by them yet. So maybe there's something there where we are actually kind of engaging in conversation more and not like, you see shows now that's like people are like peeking on their phones or kind of checking out. So maybe there's something to that and to that time.
I think it was an East Coast, West Coast thing too, though. Because like I grew up in New Jersey, grew up in New York, Long Island. So I think like there was like the lore of the California kid was fascinating because I had never been there. I never really met anybody from California. So I was like, oh my God, they can just go to the beach and
just go to Cabo on spring break.
Surf. They go to Cabo on spring break with no parents. There's no chaperone.
Extremely intimidating, right? Like running into a California kid was always like, ooh, this is really scary.
At that point in time, I never met a single person from
also
California.
in some of the episodes, like, you guys are like, making like the girls are like, we're gonna cook dinner for them. And you're just like, what? Like we were not doing that in high school. Like, oh, my boyfriend's gonna come over and I'm gonna cook dinner for him. Yeah,
I can't say that happened actually too often outside of that. The show was like, all right, let's get Jessica and Kristen to make some pasta for Dieter and Steven. So there's some moments there. And that was one thing that we thought even going into the show was like, all right, first of all, like the fact that they're actually going to shoot us and they're doing this and they're going to make a few episodes is ridiculous. But we're going to get some free dinners out of this. We're going to get like, maybe we're getting a boat out to Catalina. So we thought we were almost ripping them off. All right, we're going to get these cool activities to do and like find a way to sneak alcohol in too, because that's what you did at that age.
Yeah.
And we'll be laughing at the end of it. Boy, were we wrong. Didn't quite have that figured out. There was the lacking of the maturity in those moments of like not thinking past the next 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
The digital landscape of what's going to happen.
I'm robbing these guys blind. Meanwhile, they're like, we're taking advantage of you all.
Fully exploited.
Yeah, you're fully exploited for everything that's going on. But it's so crazy that it's been 20 years and you got everybody to participate in this reunion. Where did the idea to film a reunion come from? Like, did it start from one of you guys, or were you guys approached to do it?
Yeah, no, actually, it really came from the podcast with Kristen and I, and it felt like that was the natural progression of what we wanted to. We were going to finish the podcast with a big episode with everybody. It just didn't work out that way, and so we're like, all right, let's consider something, and we just kind of kept talking about it. Liz Gately, actually, the original creator of the show, she approached us later and was like, hey, what do you guys think about maybe doing like a reunion? And we were like, that's so funny. We've been talking about this. Let's see what this will look like and see if we can find a partner. And then once we were able to take it to Roku and they were big fans of the show, they jumped right in and we were like, all right, sweet. They get what we want to do here. It really worked from there. It was nice that everyone really jumped in from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Lauren was like, all right, what's the why? Why are we doing this? Let's talk about this a little bit more. She took a little bit more convincing, of course. But again, coming off the heels of the podcast, that was a positive experience for us. We all realized that we're kind of having this inner dialogue of like, where does the show fit in my life? Like how do I like metabolize those years, especially as we continue to get older and people are getting kids and it's like, am I going to watch the show with them and whatnot? And when we came together and can talk about it, realized it left it in a really good place and felt like, oh, okay, you know what? It's not so bad after all. Like we all kind of felt the same thing at that time and everyone's doing okay. So this should be a reflection of like a positive thing that we've come so far from where it was back in the day. And I think people understood that, and that's where we were going to go, and we were going to be in control, that they were on board.
Right. So having that kind of roller coaster of emotions and attachment to the show where it's like, all right, we're leaving the show, you feel some type of way about it, but then it comes back around this many years later. And the fan reaction has been insane. I mean, we're all so excited. For those that don't know, and maybe you guys touch on it during the reunion, can you kind of take us through how you even got on Laguna Beach?
Yeah. So there were rumors about it for like a year. And it was something that was pinging around. I think after the OC had aired, they talked about doing like a OC type reality show. Or actually, it wasn't called a reality show. It was a documentary about kids in high school. MTV wanted to do a documentary, right? It's going to be very educational for the folks out there. Yeah. And so, then all of a sudden, they actually showed up one day on campus, just out of nowhere. And we didn't know that it was coming next week or anything like that. It was like, what's going on over here? It's like, oh, that's MTV. They're handing out packets to people to learn about their lives and see who they're going to shoot for their documentary. And that was at break and lunch. And from there, actually that weekend was the Super Bowl with the wardrobe malfunction with Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson. So then PTA, the parents group, if you will, they were like, get him out of here. We don't want MTV, because MTV is doing what I think MTV was doing what Apple is doing today, which is running the halftime show for the NFL, if I have that right. But so it was their responsibility when that all went down. But they had met everyone, and they're just like, all right, we'll just keep it off of campus. So they were originally supposed to shoot on campus, and then they didn't. So they just started talking to everyone. Would bring us in for some interviews, and I remember, and this was still on campus at that moment, sitting in a classroom. I think it was my old computer graphics class. And I was just talking to somebody who had a camera set up and just telling them about my life. And then a couple more people were coming in the room and a couple more people were coming in the room. And I'm like, okay. And then they just called one day and they're like, we'd like you to be a part of the show and let's shoot a bunch of stuff. And from there, they shot all sorts of stuff. And a lot of like hanging out with friends and being at the beach and not just like focused in on the relationships, right? As far as like girlfriend and stuff like that. So it was pretty shocking to see when it first came out what exactly they were focused on.
At that time, being a kid in high school, are you asking any of the questions of like, how much does this pay? What's the contract like? Or are you just excited to be on a TV show?
Yeah, I wanted to work for MTV. Like I had dreams of working in entertainment, and I grew up watching Carson Daly. And I talk about this in the special too. Like I wanted to be him. There was the middle school superlatives where it's like most likely to, and there was a most likely to be an MTV VJ, and I was like secretly hoping people were going to vote for me, but I wasn't campaigning or anything, so nobody voted for me. I think I only voted for myself.
Naturally thinking,
Hopefully they'll pick me, and like I'll be on my way. I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? What was your question on that?
Like thinking about like pay, contract.
So looking forward, it was really just about making some connections and just like reaping the benefits of having some MTV budget, buy us some things. And they did. It was our parents who stepped in. It was like, the kids should get something. And it was actually a little bit of a battle to get our $2,000. It was like a whole, like we brought in lawyers and we're like, oh, this might not happen. And then it finally happened. And it's so funny to look back. We thought at that time we were rich. Like I remember getting that check being like, all right, like I'm going to go blow this all in golf gear right now. It's so funny looking back. I think that we did the whole first season for that.
2,000 for the whole season, not per episode.
2,000 for the entire first season.
That is so
crazy.
What's the situation with? What was the situation with like reruns? Because it would play on MTV nonstop, and that's how like new generations would keep watching it. Because even when it was over, it was still on TV all the time.
Yeah.
Did you guys make any money from that?
No union. There's no reality union for that. So we were not in SAG or anything. I remember there was something worked into the deal for merch, and this is where I think we really got screwed because we were. If you can imagine the smallest piece of a pie that you are worked into for if they make X amount of dollars, then the cast will be allowed into the smallest possible sliver of getting some kickbacks for some of the merch. But I mean, it's pennies. It was There was really nothing ever.
And you said that the first thing you thought to buy was like, I'm getting some golf
gear. Clubs. I blew all of it on golf clubs right away, because I was like, my older brother was the hand-me-downs, and I was on the golf team. I was very into golf, and so I immediately after paid the lawyer, we had our taxes, so now we're down to like $1,300. I'm still thinking I'm rich back in 2004. Now we're spending on golf clubs. There's like $600, and then beer and a cake, and it was like, all right, it's gone.
Right,
it was gone in like
there
a month.
Goes my last $50.
Yeah, not saving for college.
But I feel like it accomplished what you wanted it to, which was getting your foot in the door to
to work with
industry.
MTV. It was looking back, I was like, oh, they must have. I think MTV was looking after me. They really wanted to make sure that I was going to be okay. Yeah. Considering, just how much was in that show, what they used, and they knew they had to take their liberties for certain parts of the show. And so I had always, was tugging on them, saying, hey, if you ever need a host, like I want a host. At that time, I was really adamant about going into hosting. I thought maybe I'd be into sports broadcasting. I wanted to go to sports journalism and be a sports broadcaster, and also work in entertainment as well, kind of do the crossover. And so thankfully they allowed me to guest host Beach House in San Diego. I'll never forget, that was kind of my on-air audition. Once the show started hitting, they let me come in and guest host for a week, and that was the biggest deal in the world to me at that time. And thankfully that went well. Mm-hmm. It went okay. I remember I had, the cue cards were all there, and I remember I was like, I'm wearing dark sunglasses, just like basically read off the cue card. Don't try to memorize anything, stick to the script, and like maybe we'll we could pull it off. And I remember thinking about that, wearing the sunglasses, and then it went well. It was fun. It was in San Diego, and then they called me to work out like a year-long deal for a VJ, and I was like, holy crap. Which again, I look back, it's like I didn't deserve any of that. You know what I mean? And like that's. It's just pure luck that I was able to walk into that experience, and so there was a full imposter syndrome from the jump. But I tried to work hard to make up for lost time. All right, try to make sure I'm doing a good job. But it was right away I felt like I don't deserve any of this. I'm now 19 years old and I'm a VJ for MTV. Right. I got a dream job.
Right.
Take that, middle schoolers.
That's what everybody wants to do.
I don't recommend. This is not the career trajectory. This is not career advice. You do not need to start on a reality show. Go study and do the traditional path.
Yeah. But you end up in this place for a reason, right? Like I know you say it's luck, but you don't get these jobs if you're terrible. You know what I'm saying? You have to give yourself some credit. Yeah. If you were terrible, you wouldn't.
Yeah, we still had a lot to learn, and that was, even once, and then hosting, I was like, acting was appealing to me, and I started taking classes, and then really caught the bug there. So I figured, I was like, let me just back away from everything for like a year and just study in LA and see what happens from there. And then, just start auditioning and got my first movie. I actually worked with Hillary Burton on a movie, and she was talking about One Tree Hill. And I remember, I'm like, man, I know that show. It seemed like it would be a fun show to work on. The next time I worked for TRL, a couple weeks later, Chad was on. And so the One Tree Hill started following me around. It's one of those weird things. And I was like, I really got an audition. It went well. They're like, this isn't the right role for you, but we'll call you again. And they called me for another audition. And then I think the network was like, I don't know about this reality guy. So I kept going in for the same role that second time. And then they eventually cast me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Who did you audition for originally?
Somebody's asked me this before. I don't know the role. They kind of, the sides they gave were vague. And so I don't know if they were just testing me, and they were going to maybe write something.
Right,
but
I don't on someone.
So I think they were just kind of getting a read. I don't have an exact.
And when the show it was already airing at that point, when you had that first audition.
Came in season
4?
4. I was going to say 3 or 4. Yeah.
Yeah. So
because that makes sense. Did MTV ever try to push you in the direction of other reality shows, like as you were VJing and doing these things, or had a good relationship with them? Because that was primetime MTV reality TV, where they were like, Steven, let's put you on one. Let's put you on one of these other shows.
Challenge. Real world.
Yeah. Well, also The Hills obviously was, and that was basically a spinoff with Lauren. Yeah. So they were asking me about that quite a bit, and I think in those later years of The Hills as well, when it was kind of very well known that everything was basically scripted at that point. Like everyone was in on it. It was like, they're just
like texting under the table.
When you
showed up in that episode for the Hills, I remember to take around and went, it's happening.
That was a big buildup because I was so scared away from reality, and I think that they knew that. I think early on I expressed that, and actually the way that worked out was. I was really pressing MTV. They were starting to get into scripted. The Awkward was about to kick off.
So good.
There was like a cheerleading show I remember they were doing that was big when it was
Teen Wolf was around.
Yes, Teen Wolf was coming out. And so I was like, hey, I'd love to, try to at least audition and get in one of these shows. They kept pushing the Hills, and eventually they worked out a scripted development deal with me for a year. They're like, hey, if you do 2 episodes of the Hills, we'll do a scripted development deal with you, and we'll find something scripted for you, right? And I was like, this is perfect. Quid pro quo. And now I realize they didn't give a crap about getting me on a scripted show. They're like, just call this money over here, his scripted development deal, and then we'll get him on the Hills for a couple episodes. So I did one, and then I still felt very uncomfortable. It was not the world for me, and thankfully I got to do it with Lauren, so that part was easy. We're friends. But they kept calling me to do that second episode, and they had the year to do it, and I'd just be like, no, I'm out in North Carolina, sorry, working on One Tree Hill, or I would just have a lot of dentist appointments and had to be with my
Root
family.
Canal. Yes, I don't know. It's emergency. They said I have to be there. All the
excuses in the book, which I was happy to do. So I only had to do that one episode, which was fine.
Hey, pulling an excuse on them when they tricked you with the scripted deal, you got to play it back. You got to play the game with them. Yeah. Exactly. Now, coming around to do Traitors, you realize that reality TV, it's not for you anymore. Yeah. What made you decide, okay, yes, I'm going to say yes to this? Yeah,
honestly, fear of regret for not actually taking the opportunity. And they had offered season 3. I actually couldn't do it, but I was thinking about it then. And but it was because I had not done any other reality. I was like, all right, well, it's an easy pass because I have to, but I would have actually really considered that. I kind of noticed that within myself. I was like, I love the way they produced the show. I think it's so well done, and it just really intrigued me, and I was a fan of it. So it came back around, thankfully, and I was like, yeah, I'm in. But there was that initial like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. Like I want to do it, and after being off of reality for so many years, it felt like it was going to be a big step. But I'm so glad that I did because the show's so great.
So good. Yeah. And you've declined Dancing with the Stars in the past, I believe,
right? This was back in like 08, 09, way back in the day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, no one wants to see me.
Would you do it now?
The competition reality, it sparked a little bit of something in me where the challenge of stepping into that, I felt like I was rewarded for, kind of going through the fear of doing it and had a really enjoyable experience. And I think for that, I feel very grateful. And so you never say never. I think with dancing, it seems like that would be even a harder of a decision. Like I was really a fan of Traitors going into it. Yeah. I don't watch too much dancing, but I think, again, there is that appeal to the challenge of actually stepping in and doing it. I know how hard that they work on that show, and they're dancing every day for months straight. So, it would never say never.
Yeah. I feel like you said, once you get I felt like this with watching Dylan Efron. It was like once he got the reality competition bug, it's like now we're seeing him on all the shows. Mm-hmm. Like he wants to be competing because it's just a different element than just doing a docu-series type show of them just following your life around and you're on location, it's a set amount of time, all those things. So, I mean, we would absolutely watch it. The fan base you guys have created from One Tree Hill is probably one of the, loudest, proudest fan bases of any TV show like ever, I feel like. And everyone shows up to these conventions that you guys do and all these events. What's your favorite thing of getting to do all those events? I know, did you play basketball with them in one of
I did. It's so funny. The first time we did a basketball game, I was like, I feel like this is kind of sacrilegious. I don't want to be on the team.
Right.
And it was James laughing.
I was never on the team.
Yeah, I wasn't on the team. I was just like, I was the guy who came in later, and then it was the bartender after that. So I was like, it just doesn't feel right. And then James, we were in the locker room. I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this. Like, I'll just hang. And James is like, hey, dude, it's a TV show. so you're good. Like it's just a TV show. Remember, it's just not real life. And I'm like, okay. So he had to kind of have a come to Jesus moment with me there. But I think it's fun. FWB, they're doing a lot of it for charity as well. And so it was great to get out there and run around. But my basketball skills are limited. So and we're doing another one later this fall. Any opportunity to go back to Wilmington, to Tree Hill, where we shot the show, is always something that's enticing to me. That was like kind of my college experience. I got the show that I really wanted, and I was I was on the East Coast, and everything was so new. But also, there's some similarities as far as just being on the coast, where that city is, where we shot it, a little surf town in Wrightsville Beach. So. I look back at those memories so fondly. I did so much growing up during that time. It was so instrumental for my career to be able to have that time on that set. So any opportunity to go back, I'm always like, hey, sign me up.
There was a bit of a rumor floating around not too long ago of the girls trying to maybe bring the show back in some way. Mm-hmm. If that were to come to fruition, would you want to be involved? Would you want to have any participation in that?
Yeah, I think, again, always going back to Wilmington is nice. And I felt like I was so happy to have a good trajectory in the show where when we left off in season 9, I had been on the show more than I ever had before and had a little more storylines that were developing, which was nice. So it was nice to leave it there. I think I would, of course, say yes and happy to go back and do the show. But it's got to make sense. It's got to fit for what they're doing. So I wouldn't I'm not necessarily, banging down the doors of Hillary and Sophia being like, hey, like,
what's the update?
What's my role? Let them do their thing, but support them for what they got going on with that. It's in good hands as far as getting its best shot to have a reboot. So it's good.
That's what we thought too.
Yeah, they didn't promise you the deal that MTV did with the scripted series.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's so true. But you've gotten to work with James still a lot, which is awesome. I know you have some great news about your show. Everyone's doing great as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you guys are doing a second season.
We actually, our second season is done.
Second season is done.
We have some news that we're sharing here momentarily about what exactly is happening with season 2. And we've been sitting on it for a little while, but the time has finally presented itself. So we're excited to get season 2 out, and we're actually going to get it to a lot wider audience. It's going to be a lot of territories around the world.
Amazing. Very exciting.
And first season went to some great spots, and it popped around the world a little bit, but not. There were some places where it didn't hit, and now we're going to have a great opportunity for folks to see it that haven't seen the first season, while also releasing season 2. So we're super excited.
That's awesome. What can people sort of expect from season 2? Can you tease a little bit?
There was
those who watched season 1.
For sure. Season 1, it really focused mostly on James and I's characters, and then you met our. His ex-wife in the show, and then my ex-girlfriend in the show. You met them a kind of little bit, and you see the circle of friends, the 4 of them. And we're going to focus a lot more on the 4 of them going into season 2. It's more of a 4-hander. And so, what they got going on, Cree Behind and Alex Park, who play the female leads, they're fantastic actresses. They're Australian, so they're cool as shit. Yep. Much cooler than James and I. They kill it, and they have some really fun stuff together. And they're that kind of spiral that was happening in the first season with James and I's characters. You're going to see a little bit of that through them this go around. And it's delicious. Yeah. They're so good.
That's so exciting. And especially great. Like you mentioned, when a show reaches a wider audience and then people go back and watch the first season and then the show just keeps on growing from there.
Yeah. And we're fully independent. So it's such a big get for us to be able to have this opportunity to share it with more folks.
That's awesome. Because I'm, not to jump on whatever the announcement is, but I'm assuming it's something that hopefully when you open, when you're on something that pushes it out more, and then you're like, wait, the show has multiple seasons already. It is
then
enticing.
You get even more excited. You're like, I could binge.
It's more enticing to go and start, and people recognize the faces, and you're like, what is this? And it makes you want to watch. So that's really, really exciting. I love seeing you guys work together still.
I feel like it really just feeds into the nostalgia of things while also doing things that you now love, right? Like you give the fans what we want to see from years ago, but you're still doing what you love currently.
New projects.
A little bit. The show is. We obviously put it in a world that we know very well, and we like to say it's like a version of ourselves if we just listen to the devil on our shoulder our entire life, and all of a sudden we're in our mid-30s and have nothing figured out. So it's fun to play with that. And yeah, there's a lot of wink and nodding to, our early years in the business and what we've seen. It's a lot of stories from what we've seen with different folks and different things that we've experienced. And we've shot in Wilmington, where we obviously shot One Tree Hill. So yeah, we have a lot of fun with that. And even like we were talking about some of the fan conventions and stuff this season and season 2, we'll go to a fan convention in the show.
And
we got to
use a lot of parallels.
We got to use some of, and we were at a actual One Tree Hill convention. We told some folks if they wanted to stick around for a day of filming, please do, and they did. So
that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah,
that is so cool.
Like I said, the fandom is so deep. It's like I think that if you were to ask anyone to jump, they'd be like, "How high?"
One Tree Hill fans, they've been so loyal. They kept the show alive for. That's why you got, I think, seasons 7, 8, 9. I mean, they were so vocal online and so passionate about it, and so that's why that show continued on for sure.
Definitely, that is so true. And you got some big life moments happening, so you're gonna be a dad.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's really exciting. Have you gotten any crazy dad advice? You're like, that can't be right.
Crazy dad advice. Good question. What have I?
You always want to ask your dad. You want to ask your friends, like, tell me the real.
Yeah.
Like, give me the real advice.
You know what? I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, you know what? I know this is going to be a lot. I know I'm going to be very humbled. So I was like, you know what? I'm an early riser, so I think I'll be okay with the lack of sleep. And then he just started laughing at me. He's like, buddy.
Keep the positivity now.
Love where your mind's at. Just call me in a couple months when baby's here and tell me how you're doing on that early rising.
Right.
So
that's so funny.
I think that the best advice that, two things I got consistently. It's like, look, everyone's got to figure it out for themselves. So don't get too bogged down by certain specific piece of advice that you think is really good. But a consistent thread I've gotten from folks is get out in the world. Like, don't just stay at home and feel like, oh my gosh, we're like this precious little cargo here. We cannot let anything happen to it. Like, let's get out in the world a little more. Don't let it stop us from traveling and take advantage of the free flights with the baby while it's at that age.
Right.
I
Before
like
you have
that.
to buy them a seat.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that advice a lot. I mean, we don't have kids, but in the future when we plan on it, if it happens, I feel like that's one advice that I hear from a lot of people too. Is like, get out there.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Take the European way of parenting. Like, I think that all the time when I'm over there, and I'm like, this last summer, my husband and I are out at, like, it's basically an outdoor nightclub, but we're having dinner. It's 10 o'clock. The kids are running around everywhere, and I'm just like, this doesn't happen, and this doesn't happen in New Jersey.
In the stroller next to them.
And I think it's good because there's so much stuff too where you can consume online about, all right, here's the advice, here's what you need to do, and
social
sometimes
media tells you if you're a good parent real quick.
Exactly, that's what I was gonna say. It's like, and you could really get insecure about whether or not you're being a good parent or not, and so I think that keeps people from doing certain things. So we got to break through those barriers.
Exactly. Everyone do you know?
And we all turned out all right. So it's like you can see what did our parents do?
Yeah, I don't know.
What siblings do you guys?
Yes, I have two older siblings,
and I have two younger siblings.
Yeah, so we're actually switched.
Okay. Yeah. I'm the youngest of 3. I like to say third child, first mistake. My parents wanted 2, they got 3. So
same.
Yeah.
Hey,
right.
and we turned out great. We turned out great.
Exactly. I told my parents, I was like, oh, third child. All right, well, guess who's going into the arts? We're going to start with a reality show.
Me too. They're like, this one's dropping out of college and doing a podcast.
They're like, let's get her into the acting.
Yeah. Hey, they're always, I'm the best mistake they ever made. That's what they say.
There you go.
Exactly.
Well done. You know, my parents actually, they sat me down and told me this when I was like 13. And I was like, why? Why are we doing this? What are we achieving? Like, would they think it was going to get out? Like somebody else?
Right.
I want you to hear it from me.
You're going to hear it from somebody else.
The worst was when I was a kid and, we'd go see cousin whoever, aunt, whatever, great aunt. Oh, you look like the mailman's kid. You don't even look like the parents. I'm like, oh, great. So, okay, you're adding to this delusion that I have in my head. Great.
My brother's story for that is totally inappropriate, but I cannot say what he says happened for when I arrived. But it was
like
third kid. We've all been there.
Yeah. My brother's like, mom was in the bathroom, and then
Or have you ever had your parents tell you that they like talk to you about when conception story. And I'm I could have gone my whole life without knowing this. Yeah. No one would have told me. Like I don't need to know about me, my siblings, nobody. It's like they're 100%. Like, oh, that one night thing. And I'm like, great, I didn't need to.
The lineage, thank you.
Yeah, I got it because my middle name's Noelle, and I went till maybe high school before I put two and two together because I was born in September. And my parents were like, well, you were a Christmas baby. And I was like, wow. Right.
And now
spelled like the first Noelle.
And now that I know, I'm telling everyone, her middle name's Noelle because her parents had a great Christmas.
They had a great Christmas that year. So, no, it I don't know, parents can't help themselves. So
my mom was like, we wanted to name you Tanner. She's like, you came out tan.
Yeah.
And I was like, thanks, Mom. That's okay. Really, we thought outside the box on that. Right. My dad stepped in and was like, he's going to be Steven. Like, let's just,
Wow, this is really meaningful.
It's like, if you came out really pale, you would have just totally stayed. Paler? There would never been a question.
I love it. My God.
That
so
is
funny. Steven, we are so excited. The Laguna Beach anniversary special, that is out April 10th. On Roku. We're all so excited to watch. Is there anything you can tease before we leave?
It was emotional. It was more emotional than I thought. I did not think that I would be crying on this thing.
Aww.
But I shed some tears. So there's that. A lot of stuff that I think there's some questions that people want, the hard pressing questions, discussions between folks that happens. And also you can see this. I hope people can reflect on their own lives of how far they've come from when they first watched the show and can relate to it. And see now where they're at, and even if you are the third child, first mistake, like we are, you've done great in life. You've come so far, and a lot of this group has, and we've all come to a comfortable spot where the show is. So it's nice. I think that's the celebration that we want. We want it to be a really positive, feel good thing for viewers, while getting some of that awkward, juicy little details and seeing some of the dynamics. The personalities are still there. It was a funny, weird experience. And I think people enjoy it.
I loved watching you guys all sit around, just from the teasers and stuff, sitting around the bonfire and having those moments, because it is so relatable that it is 20 years later. Even when I see my high school friends now, we spend all of our time laughing and joking about the stupid shit we did in high school. We all watched what you guys did on TV. But it is that you do have that same relatable moment of like, me and my high school friends would do this and sit down and joke about all the things we did and laugh about it.
And even though, we saw on the podcast, but like seeing Kristen and Lauren together, I know it all makes us feel a certain type of way. Like watching them do 100%. TikToks and Instagram and all that. So it's so fun.
It's fun to see.
We're so excited to watch. And Steven, thank you so much for coming in.
Dude, you guys
Thanks,
are the best. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.